Before coming to New College, I was in Cambridge. I was the director of the Cambridge Centre for Christianity Worldwide, and I was teaching in the Cambridge Theological Federation and in the Divinity faculty. And that allowed me to teach both African Christianity and mission studies. And the centre that I ran had a library and an archive given over to the study of world Christianity. I first started looking at the revival when I was living in Uganda for a relatively short period of time. I had access to a number of primary sources. I had access to some of the first people who were part of the revival and other people who were second and third generation revivalists. I had access to student dissertations in Uganda that are a mine of fascinating information of particular localities, and I brought all those together to understand how the revival worked as a form of worship and of liturgy. The East African revival in some ways is the middle part to two other projects. My doctoral thesis, which came after the East African revival and was only marginally influenced by it, but has some influence from it. And the project that I'm now working on, which is a critical biography of a man called Apollo Kivulia, who died just as the revival was taking off, but who was an inspiration to many of the East African revivalists. So in some ways, he provides a missing link in the story of Ugandan Christianity between those very, very early years when there's a great movement amongst the Ganda. They take to Christianity very rapidly compared to other parts of sub-Saharan Africa, and they disseminate Christianity, literacy and so forth around the area. And then the East African revival, which people know about, in some ways Apollo Kivulia sits between those two eras and helps us understand the connections between them. I've recently edited a book with two Cambridge colleagues, David Maxwell and Joel Cabrita, which has looked at the study of world Christianity and the way in which perhaps we need to re-examine it. We talked about this movement from a kind of focused area studies that has emphasised indigeneity and authenticity to seeing how those issues kind of break open with African peoples being interested in transnational connections and collaborations. But we drew scholars from other areas of the world to talk about China, to talk about the Middle East, Eastern Europe, trying to think of the ways in which an emphasis on Africa has been at the forefront of studies in world Christianity, and invite people from other parts of the globe that have perhaps been more neglected, Latin America, another one, to see what these questions about the study of world Christianity might provoke in the areas where they research. It's also an interdisciplinary book. We combined history, social science, particularly anthropology, and theology in this volume. One of the differences that I noticed as I moved back to Edinburgh is that the Centre for the Study of World Christianity sits full square in the School of Divinity, and it uses the resources, it's informed by the School of Divinity, and it also informs the outlook of the School of Divinity. It's been here for 30 years. It's embedded in the structures here, and it has great connections with other parts of the university, African studies, China studies, the study of Islam and so forth. And I think that gives students who come here to study a real opportunity of engaging across the university and across the school while still having a close-knit community of scholars within the centre who understand their rationale and what they've come here to do.